स्वयि मे सर्वं ॐ ॐ ॐ। आत्मनि मे त्वं ॐ। स्मारे स्मारे ॐ। चित्तं शामे शामे ॐ। हे ईश्वर, सारा संसार आप में प्रतिष्ठित है। हे ईश्वर, आप मेरी अंतरात्मा में नित्य स्थित हैं। हे ईश्वर, मैं सदैव आपका स्मरण करूं। हे ईश्वर, मेरे मन को शांति प्रदान करें। God, the entire universe exists in you. You are pervading my inner self. Bless me with your constant remembrance. Bless me with abiding peace. Okay. So today we move on to the second sutra of chapter 3, Vibhuti Path. Last sutra we discussed the concept of Dharana. And now in this sutra we will be talking about Dhyana. Now this Dhyana is a very, very important concept from yoga point of view. And the sutra reads, Deshabandhas Chittasya Dharana. Deshabandhas Chittasya Dharana. So what does it mean? That is Dharana. Second sutra is Dhyana. Tatra pratyay ekatanata dhyanam. Tatra pratyay ekatanata dhyanam. In that is Dharana, the continuous flow of similar mental modifications is called Dhyana or meditation. So in Dharana we saw Tatra pratyay ekatanata dhyanam is defining Dhyana. In Dharana we saw that fixity of mind is Dharana. Holding mind on one desired space or points in space is what constitutes Dharana. Whereas in the same object, when the attention and the focus is continuously carried out, and what happens is the similar kind of perception is continuously going on, then that will constitute dhyana. Tatra pratyay ekatanata dhyanam. So these concepts we have to understand that normally when we look at our mind, now suppose if we look at the idea of just now, what is going on, I am talking to you and you are listening. I am looking at you, I am talking to you. Now, certain perceptions are right now going on in our mind. So, these perceptions have got a certain amount of continuity. We feel as if, there's no break, and one after another, these continuous perceptions are going on, and there's a sense of continuity. But if we look at the nature of mind, then what is happening is every moment the perception is changing a little bit. Some new components are entering in the perception. So this way, even if the feeling of continuity is there, it is not really that continuous, because if we pay attention to the mind, which normally habitually we don't do, if we pay attention to the mind, the moment I am saying something, the moment I started talking, certain thoughts started coming in the mind of everyone. And these thoughts were not similar thoughts, or they kept on changing, a new content kept on coming. So you will find that every time I am uttering some words, there is a change taking place in the consciousness, there is a change taking place in the mental state. So this is continuously going on. And in habitual state of day-to-day activity, these perceptions are changing at such a rapid speed. But because they are continuously going on, we get a sense that, there's no break. But if we pay attention, we still our mind continuously, we stabilize our mind, then we'll find, it's like it can be compared to an old movie theater. You remember old movie theaters where now it is a world of digital technology. But earlier it was not so. There used to be a projector and there used to be a film which will run before the projector. So when the film was running before the projector, we got a feeling that a movie is going on. Continuously movements were there. But when we look at the film and the projector which was there, what was happening is the film was moving before the projector at a certain speed. And that is why we were getting the impression that we are seeing a movie. The actors are talking, the actors are moving. So this frame of film was continuously changing in front of the projector, which gave the impression of a running movie, continuously going on movie. So similar kind of thing is there in our mind. Now that technology is obsolete, it is not being used, although some still people may have projectors and films. But now we don't see that technology. But that is a good example to understand our mind. Our mind is continuously changing frames, and every time a frame is changing, we get the impression that there's a continuity, but there's a certain amount of disturbance in that, and mind is not able to really hold on. So when we fix our mind on a desired object, then what happens? Suppose if we are fixing our mind on a flame of a lamp, then last time we saw that there are two things, two ways dharana can be done. One is by the anubhav, that is experience. If we are focusing on a part of our body, then we are not using our senses there. We are getting direct feeling of that part. For example, if we are focusing on the heart, or we are focusing on the top of the head, or we are focusing on the tip of the tongue. Now, this being part of our body, it doesn't require use of the senses. But when we are focusing on the flame of a lamp, then it is the object which is outside our body. So we have to use our eyes. And with the help of eyes, we start focusing our mind through the eyes. And every time there'll be, continuously the frame is changing. Every time the perception has to be retained. Otherwise, there will be entry of something else, something external to the perception. Now, what is dharana? Dharana is fixing the mind to continuously perceive a particular object. What is dharana? Dharana is the continuous fixity of mind to perceive that same very object and repeating the same perception. That is what is dharana. So initially what happens? We have decided that we are going to focus on flame of a lamp. Then the moment we start focusing, then immediately a thought comes, oh, I can see a small blue spot in between the flame. So now the moment I started thinking, the other components have entered in the perception. Some thought processes have started. Some words have come. Then oh, it's so bright. When we are looking at the flame, the moment we will say mentally, it is so bright, something new has come, entered. And then I'm reminded that, in 20 years back, we had done this kind of meditation, this kind of flame watching at certain place. So memories will come. So this way, when we are perceiving an object, the pure perception, it gets contaminated by so many thoughts coming from the memory, so many thoughts coming from the associations we have had with that object. So this way, the alteration is taking place in the perception. And this perception is what is known in this sutra as pratyay. Tatra pratyay ekatanata dhyanam. Tatra means in dharana. Tatra is referring to dharana. So in dharana, that means whatever object we have selected for dharana, we continue to hold on to that object only. When continuously there's an effort to fix the mind on a particular object, and initially when dharana stage is there, as I told you, so many breakages will be coming, so many distractions will be coming. We will be drifting from the object, we'll be thinking of something else, and for quite some time we may be totally lost, and we don't even become aware that we have lost our concentration. So this way we keep losing concentration from the object. But when dharana is continuously done for a very long time, then what happens? Then mind is relatively stable, and it can hold on to the object which is concentrated upon. So instead of flame, it could be, I will pay attention to my breathing. So I will be aware that when I'm inhaling, I'll be aware when the inhalation is complete. I'll be aware when the exhalation is starting. I'll be aware when the exhalation has stopped. This could be another object, or there could be any other objects. But every time the mind, when drifts away from the object, then we have to forcefully bring the mind back again and again to that object. So those who are used to meditation practice, they know that what I am talking about. And most of you being yoga teachers, you know that how difficult it is to focus the mind. But whatever object we have selected for concentration, forcefully reminding ourselves again and again, we bring back our attention to the object we have selected. That is what is dharana. And when relatively skill has been developed and now our mind has become stable, then what happens is we are able to hold on to that pratyay or that object for a very long time. So this, what does pratyay means? Pratyay means vritti. Pratyay is vritti. So at this particular moment, whatever is the content in your awareness is what is vritti. So if you want to understand what is vritti, whatever is there in the awareness right now, that is the vritti we have right now. So these vrittis keep on changing. We are not able to hold on to one vritti for a very long time. So in dharana, we are trying to hold on to one vritti for a very long time. And when that becomes continuous, when we are successful in that, then the dharana converts itself or changes itself into dhyana. So dhyana is nothing but a deeper state of dharana. So this is how we understand the difference between dharana and dhyana, and how it has been compared in classical literature. In Vyas Bhashya, it has been compared with a flow of water. If we look at a flow of water and then compare it with the flow of oil or say honey, you are pouring honey from a spoon or from a pot in another pot, how the honey flows, or you are pouring oil from one pot to another pot, how the oil flows, and you are pouring water from maybe a tap. So dharana is like flow of water, because you will find breakages are there, in that disturbance is there. So the flow of water is not as smooth as the flow of honey or flow of oil. So classically, to explain the difference between the dharana and dhyana, they say that dharana is like a flow of water, and dhyana is like flow of oil or honey. So continuously this is happening. Now the idea is little difficult to understand, but then we have to see that when we are moving from dharana to dhyana, then a mind has taken a big leap. It's a big change our mind has undergone. Because when we look at our ordinary states of mind, continuously there are thought processes going on, continuously vrittis are going on. Even if we decide that I will hold on to a positive thought, I'll hold on to a good thought, we are not successful, because our mind, because of the past sanskaras, because of the weaknesses, because of the memories, because of various factors working in our subconscious mind, they don't allow our conscious mind to remain focused for a long time. So this entire process of Bahiranga, Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, they are preparing the mind for a larger purpose of concentrating on a desired object. Last time we discussed about two kinds of concentration: involuntary concentration and voluntary concentration. So in dharana and dhyana, it is voluntary concentration. You see, it is not something which we are attracted to and our attention is held there. There are many things we are interested in, so there we can spend a lot of time. and then we can remain focused. A person who's interested in movies, he can sit in a movie theater for 3 hours and without even becoming aware of the discomfort of body. If the movie is very interesting, one may just go on watching and get engrossed into the movie to such an extent that he forgets about his body. So that is also a kind of concentration. But that concentration is not what yoga is talking about. Yoga is talking about voluntary concentration. हम लोगों ने जो ऑब्जेक्ट को चुना है, हम लोगों ने जो विषय को चुना है, और ये जो विषय है ये भी फिक्स होता है. हर बार हम लोग विषय बदल भी नहीं सकते. Normally when dharana dhyan practices are done, then the objects are selected according to the instructions of the guru or according to our understanding of what is spiritual and what is good for us. So once we have selected the object of concentration, then perhaps years together a person is concentrating and focusing and meditating on that very object. So the nature of or the method of meditation doesn't change. If we change the method of meditation, then our mind is never going to be stable and the dharana is never going to be translated into dhyana. So the object, all the researches which have been going on in last 35, maybe 40, 50 years, and earlier than that, the saints and sages and yogis used to talk about it. But now last 50 years, even scientists, biologists, psychologists have started talking about meditation. So all of these experts, they agree that when you are meditating, you have to select one particular object and for a very long time you have to be at it. So if you are selecting a method where you are focusing on the breath, then breath has to be the object. If you are focusing on a particular idea, then that idea has to be there. Like when we talk about idea, even idea could be an object of meditation. In Buddhistic system, bhavas are there. Maitri or friendliness is a bhava, is a feeling on which the meditation is carried out by the Buddhist monks. And a lot of researches have been done where these kind of feelings are bringing about a total new aspects in the personality. They bring about a total change in the. So from that perspective, if you want to understand dhyana, we have to understand that we cannot change the object of dharana and dhyana at whim and fancy whenever we want. Then we will not be progressing at all. So for a long time, the meditation has to be done in a certain manner, in a prescribed manner, which is decided by our teachers, or the method which we follow, or the master which we follow. So we have to continuously be at it. Then possibility is there that dharana, continuous effort will get converted into an ease, into a comfortable area where we will be able to focus for a very long time. And when this happens, then we have progressed. We have graduated from dharana to dhyana. So this graduation from dharana to dhyana is a very big step in yoga. And that is why we'll see that how Bahiranga yoga and Antaranga yoga are totally different. In Bahiranga yoga, we are just trying to prepare our mind. And then in pranayama also very good concentration is there. So what exactly happens? A simple idea, if we try to understand. In pranayama, when we are concentrating, people say that we get very good concentration in pranayama. But the pranayama concentration as compared to dharana and dhyana is very, very tiny, very, very little. And it is again not of very lasting kind, not belonging, not of long duration. It is very short duration. So classically, when we look at this concept of concentration, we had discussed pranayam number 1, 2, 3, 4 of Patanjali. So Bhaya Abhyantara Stambha Vritti. This we had discussed last time when we were doing those sutras. So that time I had mentioned, if those who attended will remember that I had talked about concentration in pranayam. So which is the minimum kind of pranayam? If you recall, if you remember what we had discussed, the recordings are there. You can go back to that recording and listen to that recording of pranayam. So we saw that if a normal individual is breathing in, breathing out in a minute for 16 times or 15 times, say it is 15 times, then he is taking one breath in 4 seconds, one inhalation and exhalation in 4 seconds. When that happens, then only in a minute he will be taking in 15 breaths, 15 rounds of breath. So what was the pranayam? The minimum matra of pranayam was when we are able to hold our attention on a particular object for 12 matras of pranayam. 12 matras means one matra is one breath. 12 matra means 12 into 4. It comes to 48 seconds. So when one is able to hold his attention for 48 seconds on one object, then that constitutes one pranayam. So that is the level of concentration, and that was the minimum or lowest kind of pranayam. The bigger and higher kind of pranayam was where one is able to hold on to 24 matras, or and the best will be where one is able to hold his attention on 36 matras. So this we had discussed. Now, if we go according to that calculation, what constitutes dharana? 12 units of pranayam. When we are talking about 12 units of pranayam, that means we are totally focused on the desired object for 12 units of pranayam. That is equal to one dharana. And when such 12 units of dharana are carried out without any disturbance of the mind with full concentration, then that will constitute one dhyana. And 12 such dhyanas will constitute one samadhi. So calculations are very big. We will not go into that. Here, the idea what we are discussing is that now the mind has acquired a new capacity, a new ability for concentration. Earlier, the mind was distracted, it was slowly collected together. Those factors which were responsible for a lot of distractions and disturbance of the mind, they were eliminated or they were weakened with the help of yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar. They were very helpful in reducing our distractions, reducing our weaknesses. Now mind has acquired ability for concentration when it progresses from fixity or dharana to dhyana, meditation. So this meditation is a big leap. There is a change taking place in the mental state. It is an extraordinary state. Many people say that I am doing meditation, but unless they have really experienced this change in their mind, where mind becomes very peaceful. In a way, when we talk in terms of the Ekagra Chitta, we have seen that 5 types of Chittas are there. Shipta, Vikshipta, Mudha, Ekagra, and Niruddha. And most of us belong to the earlier 3 categories of Mudha, Shipta, and Vikshipta. So now, here we have to understand that when we are progressing from Dharana to Dhyana, there is a definite movement from Shipta, Mudha, Vikshipta to Ekagra Chitta. Now, this is where the Ekagrata is beginning to enter our personality. Ekagrata is entering our mind. Our mind is altering. Our mind is changing. Our ability to focus, our ability to concentrate is increasing manifold. That is what is happening in Dhyana. And that is the reason you will find that people talk about lots of changes taking place in their personality the moment they start doing Dhyana. Those people who are regularly meditating, they undergo a lot of change. And this has been now proven beyond any doubt by science, by psychology, by biology. And many scientists have talked about it. Lot of researches are there. And the effect of dhyana is tremendous. If we can really succeed in dhyana, normally we are satisfied with pranayam kind of concentration, and we feel that we are concentrating. But then we have to be very, very honest with ourselves, and we have to be very clear in our goals to be able to enter into dharana and dhyana system. Till that time, we will not be able to enter there. But once we enter there, then we will start noticing tremendous changes in the personalities. That is what is brought about by, and this was, as I said, it was proved by, it is proven by science. So many examples are there, so many studies are there. You can just Google and you can see the effects of pranayama on human mind, and you can find n number of research papers, and lots of things are there. But it all started historically with a very important area. Somewhere in 70s and 80s, lots of problems started coming into the area of health. More and more people started getting cardiac problems, stress related problems, all metabolic problems started somewhere that time. So many doctors started thinking why it is happening and what could be the antidote for this, what is the remedy. And ultimately, the research on stress is almost now 70, 80 years old. Somewhere in 1943, 44, earlier research was done on stress, and then it went on continuously. So stress was identified as a major problem, and stress has changed the lifestyle of entire humanity. No exceptions. No country is accepted. Every part of the world, people are suffering from stress, and stress has affected us in a big way. So in 70s, it was many doctors were studying, and that time one important name is there, Dr. Herbert Benson. He wrote a book called Third Response, and this third response was a response which was opposite to fight and flight response. A mind which is distracted and disturbed always is subjected to this flight and fight response. So either he will fight or he will run away. That is the kind of response. So scientists call it fight and flight response. These were two major responses. Of course, there is another response called freeze response also there. But we'll not talk about that. Dr. Herbert Benson, he said that the fight response is not working, the flight response is not working. So for the human beings to survive, for the human society to survive, they will have to develop a new response. And what is the name of that response? They call it relaxation response. And how do we achieve that relaxation? In that, the meditation or dhyana was the main technique. And a lot of research was done. You can still, whatever I am saying, you can Google it. Herbert Benson, third response, you can Google it and you can see what are the implications and what were the circumstances when it all started. That is one example. Another example is where in dhyana, a lot of changes are taking place in our mind, that we not only undergo the physical change. Physical change is taking place in the form of more relaxation, and its effect on the health is tremendous. For example, meditation always creates a kind of impact on our autonomic nervous system. When parasympathetic nervous system comes into play, our body starts repairing, our mind becomes calm, and we gain in good health, we gain in mental peace. All that is possible with the help of meditation. So these doctors prove that when meditation is carried out, there's a effect on the nervous system, particularly the autonomic nervous system. And in that also, the branch called, this parasympathetic, which is responsible for bringing down the blood pressure, bringing down the heartbeat, reducing the stress, relaxing the muscles, regulating the circulation of blood. All that is taking place with the help of meditation. So that is the kind of change which takes place. Another important is meditation also has got tremendous effect on the mind. Our emotions change, our mental, the capacity to concentrate is directly responsible for our understanding. The more we are able to concentrate, the better we can understand. Concentration is the key. Last class, I gave the example of how a room full of computer was reduced to a small handheld mobile phone. The features which were there in the room full of computer maybe 35 years, 40 years back, now all those features are there in a tiny mobile phone, maybe much more than what was there earlier. So now this is possible because a mind has been concentrating. So concentration is the key to entire knowledge. Concentration is the key to understanding. Now this understanding and concentration alters because of dhyana. Dhyana makes it possible for us to really remain focused. That way we understand things in a better way. Right? Our emotions are also changing because fight and flight responses are always because of the klishta thoughts, anger, fear, dominance, safety, various kinds of considerations are there. We are always wanting safety. So all klesha-based thoughts are there in our mind, in ordinary state of mind. But when we are progressing from dharana to dhyana, these klesha-based thoughts are reduced and better thoughts, aklishta vrittis, are substituted. Aklishta vrittis are vrittis of feeling peace, feeling confident, feeling strong, feeling capable, feeling self-reliant. You know, all these aspects, they come in with the help of these, practices of dhyana. Example would be Dalai Lama is in news nowadays. So if we take the example of Dalai Lama has worked with one very famous psychologist, Daniel Goleman. He gave us this concept of EQ, emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence he talked about, and then along with the monks of Dalai Lama, Buddhist monks, he did lot of research on destructive emotions. There's also this famous book by Daniel Goleman, and it is written with the help of Dalai Lama's monks, where they have shown that how meditation is affecting the negativities, negative emotions, and how it is making it possible for the monks to remain totally unaffected by stress. It's not that the stresses are not there. Stressors are there, but they are not affected by the stress. That is what was researched. Is a disturbance. Can you please someone's Anjali, can you check? Okay, now it has stopped. So they have put they have scientifically studied the biological aspect and my mental activity of these monks, and they found that these monks were not affected by stress at all. And when the reasons were discussed, it is only because of the meditation, it is only because of the dhyana that all these changes were possible in these monks. So a lot of such research are there. Another aspect is our capacities, our mental capacities to understand things, concentrate, and know better. All those are really, taking place because of dhyana. The more dhyana is there, the more efficiency is gained. And it is, one example would be, I'll make it very simple to understand the difference between the dharana and dhyana. Remember, we all have learned ABCD, English language we have learned. So remember when we were learning ABCD, how many times we had written A, how many times we had written B, how many times we had written C, and what kind of effort was there? Just recall that. Another example would be when we started learning walking. We were toddlers, we were walking on all fours. And when we started learning to walk, stand on our two legs, how many times do you think we must have fallen in the process of learning to stand up on two legs and walk? Hundreds and thousands times we must have fallen on the ground while in the process of learning to walk. Same way, hundred and thousand times we must have failed in writing A, B, C, D in a nice manner. But when we persisted, gradually, now we are expert in English language. I have been speaking since last so many minutes and you are understanding everything. And if I ask you to write, you will go on writing because we have learned it. Now it has become effortless. So learning ABCD, learning to walk is like dharana. And now the mastery has been gained. Now we have got proficiency. That is what is dhyana. So dhyana is a proficiency in the activity which was carried out in dharana. In dharana, what activity we carried out? Of focusing the mind, concentrating on the mind on a particular object. When continuously we were at it, gradually we will develop a skill and that skill will be manifested in the form of dhyana. Then effortlessly we will be able to focus on any desired object. That is what the contention is. And according to yoga, according to Sankhya, according to all the spiritual systems of the world, if we learn to focus our mind voluntarily on any desired object for continuously long time, and if we succeed, then what will happen? Then we will be able to apply that same thing in any area of life. It doesn't matter what we are doing. Once we have acquired ability for this good concentration, that concentration will be helpful to us in whatever we are concentrating on or whatever we are doing. That is how you will find all the mystics, all the saints and sages, they have got extraordinary ability, they have got extraordinary proficiency and skills. This is